Man without eyes. I married my wife Anna about 3 months ago. One evening we were sitting at our table and drinking wine after dinner. We were just joking and fooling around as usual before starting serious conversations. She asked me, what was your worst job? It's just the worst place you've ever worked. And usually I would respond to this kind of nonsense about how I worked in a store or in a restaurant. But I was in a bit of a talkative mood, so I gave a real answer. When I was 16, I was a carer for an 8-year-old girl who lived on my street. Her name was Samantha. Her parents knew my parents, so they quietly trusted me. Sam's parents would often go out for dinner or to a movie or something, and I would just feed her macaroni and cheese and then put her to bed. I was making about $50 a night, which was a decent amount as a teenager. I've been doing this job several times a week for about 6 months, but one day in the last month of my work, everything started to get very strange. At first I just thought Sam had a very wild imagination, as children do, but I quickly became convinced that she never lied. She was always 100% honest. It all started with the usual. I was getting her ready for bed, and she came down to me on the first floor and said there was something in her closet. I just took her back to the room and showed her that there was no one in the closet, but she kept insisting that there was something there. After a couple of nights during which she said there was something in her closet, whatever it was, it started moving. She started saying it was something under her bed. Then in the hallway, until finally it stopped on her ceiling. That's where it stayed. She always complained that something was on her ceiling, and I had to read her a bedtime story to help her fall asleep. But then even stranger things started happening. She said some things moved on their own. Her door opened and closed by itself, but that thing always stayed on the ceiling. Finally my curiosity got the better of me and I asked her, "Sam, what does this thing look like?" And when I asked, I saw that she took the matter very seriously. I should have realized then that she wasn't lying. He is tall, without hair and... It was very difficult for her to say about the last detail. "Is everything all right, Sam? You can tell me." She quietly said he has no eyes. Even then, it scared me. And even though I had an accurate description of him, I still wasn't ready for the moment when I would finally see him. This something prevented Sam from sleeping properly, so she started hallucinating. She started screaming randomly. She had to hide behind me until her parents came home. I tried to warn her parents, but they kept blaming it on the fact that children are children. It got worse and worse every night. Then one night, I was Sam, trying to calm her down while she was crying. But then I started falling asleep, and so did she. After I fell asleep, I opened my eyes for a while, but I couldn't move. I tried to call for help, but my mouth wouldn't move either. Then I saw him. From the right corner of my eye I saw a tall, lanky man. He had no body hair and, as Sam had said, he had no eyes. No eye sockets, no hollows where the eyes should be. Just a flat surface from the forehead to the nose. His skin was pale, but there were some marks all over his body. Some of the marks were black, others were red and looked like they were bleeding. I tried to scream, but it was useless. He came up to me and stroked my cheek with his finger. Even though he didn't have eyes, I could tell he was studying me. He ran his fingers through my hair, rubbed my earlobes and grabbed my face, pulling it left and right to get a better look at me. He leaned closer to me, and I heard his mouth open. He started licking his lips, continuing to sniff my neck. He opened his mouth and let out one big sigh. I began to snobbish. The room became very cold. I tried to move my arms to keep warm, but I still wasn't able to move. Tears started rolling down my face. I couldn't talk, I couldn't fight him, but worst of all, I couldn't help Sam. The man bent down and grabbed her face with his hand, and right before my eyes, she turned pale. He put his hands over her mouth and looked at me. I saw one of his red marks on his arm stop bleeding and turn black like the others. Then I didn't notice how he left. I was left alone with a breathless Sam. The cops arrived, and her parents were in terrible grief for several more years. Her father always blamed me for her being gone. I tried to tell the police what I saw, but they didn't believe me. The autopsy report showed that her heart had stopped. They said that she passed away for natural reasons. I'll never forget how scared she was. How I wish I could do more to help her. My wife was in tears the whole story. "I'm so sorry, Elliot, you did everything you could." She stroked my cheek. So yes, it was the worst job of my life. Now I am interested to know about the worst works of my readers. I will read your comments late at night, as I have been having trouble sleeping lately. And while I'm sitting here finishing this post, I swear I've been hearing something in my closet all this time.